Welcome to this presentation about FEST IP. In the next few minutes, I'm going to talk to you about FEST IP, how to be considered as an applicant to the programme, what you would do during the programme, what we expect you to achieve, and something of the experience that is involved in participating in FEST IP. It's worth beginning by talking a little bit about what FEST IP is and what it offers you as a participant. So it is a needs-led innovation training programme. This means that we look for market needs, real problems that people have, and then try to solve them, rather than trying to find uses for technology. It is structured and provides expert and participant-led immersion. What I mean by this is that people will guide you into the domain that you might work in and look at to find a commercial opportunity. But it's really you as a participant in the programme who has to lead the activity and be responsible for it. We give unparalleled access to industry experts, programme mentors, and an ecosystem of practitioners from Nova UCD and from Teagasc and beyond that, the various funding agencies and other organisations involved in the agri-food innovation ecosystem. We offer immersion at key research institutions and at industry sites, so you can really get to see what happens on the ground, understand what's going on, and identify real problems. We provide access to stakeholders, including researchers who could potentially be partners in the developing of IP, funders who will pay for the IP to be developed in the first instance and then for a commercial spin-out, investors, and the whole startup ecosystem and the industry leaders. And fundamentally what we're offering is a significantly de-risked pathway to agri-food entrepreneurship. To make it clear what I mean by immersive and needs-led innovation, what we're trying to do with immersion is observe working environments, either directly or indirectly, talk to the people in those environments, ideally lots of them, in order to understand what they really do, why they do it, and where they have difficulties and problems, or what they would like to do better. And then we also have a third aspect of immersion, which is researching hard evidence. That's more like traditional academic or commercial research. What I mean by needs-led is that we're trying to identify a specific problem that somebody has, and we want to identify who has that problem, and particularly will they pay to have that problem solved. And if they will, we think about how we can solve the problem in the most effective way so that we can bring that solution to market. So ultimately we're looking for a problem solution fit which has a clearly defined customer and market, which could be the foundation for commercial innovation. If we look at how a university, and I'm coming from a university, that's what I'm going to talk about. If we look at how a university traditionally approaches innovation, we tend to start by creating a technology. So an expert such as myself will get research funding. We will have a bright idea. We will do some research. We will discover something. We might create some intellectual property, some IP. And then we're going to try and say, well, we need to do something with that. We've got to show value for what we've done. So then we go out and look for a market. We try to package it up in such a way that we can say, well, these people want our solution, they want our technology in order to make life better for themselves. And if we can put together a convincing case, then we could license the IP to a company that already exists, or we can spin out a new company. That's what we would traditionally do in a university. However, with needs-led innovation, what we're trying to do is identify a commercial need without any thought to the technology that sits before it. We're looking for problems that people have. We're looking for people who we can relate those problems to specifically, and we're looking at the value of solving a problem. And when we've done that, we look to ideate a solution and say, well, what possible ways are there of solving this problem? How could we do this in such a way that it would really build on the competences that we have and the access to IP that we might have. And we then work with experts to come up with the best possible solutions. And when we've done that, we then validate them and bring them to market. So we're effectively coming at the problem in a different way. Rather than coming at it from a technology point of view and trying to find a market from it, we're coming at it from a need or a problem point of view, and then figuring out whether that need really does have a commercial foundation, and if it does, what people want in terms of a solution in order to be able to fix the problem. If we look at why startups fail, the number one reason is there is no market need. And in Fast IP, what we're dealing with is this problem. That's the number one thing we're focused on. Clearly defining the need and validating it. We're ensuring that we've got a good problem solution fit, which is also an issue with failure. We're making sure that we've got a clearly defined paying customer and we know that there's a market that's appealing. We're making sure that founding team members for commercialization are in place, either within the program or brought into the teams by the end of the program. And we're ensuring that teams have a business model with viable costings. In other words, there is an absolutely rock solid foundation in which to go forward at the end of Fast IP towards a commercially successful outcome. So what do we expect at the end of Fast IP? If you become a participant in it and you complete the program, what do we expect? Well, the things I will focus on here are the commercial outcomes. We want the individuals and the teams that are made of those individuals to create commercially exploitable innovations. So that could be things that are licensable by other companies or that are a foundation for a startup company that can become a high-performance startup. That means that within about 5 years' time, it is reasonable to predict that the company might employ around 10 people or be achieving around $1 million a year in revenue, which also means that it's an appealing prospect for private investment in one form or another in order to scale that company. We're looking specifically for funding applications that will fund the startup team into the next step, whether that is to validate and de-risk intellectual property before becoming a commercial entity, or whether it's going straight into a commercial pathway. We're looking for foundation team members who really have the competence and skill to always ensure what they're doing is going to direct them towards a successful outcome, and that can contribute collectively towards being a team that an investor could trust. And for those who don't want to do that at the end of the program, we're ensuring that there is a talent pool for the agri-food industry to allow innovation and entrepreneurship to work within the industry. I'm not going to talk here about the competencies and outcomes that are specific to the program. There are a number of competencies that underpin these commercial outcomes. So there is a very specific process that we go through in order to deliver Fast IP, and this is full-time and it occurs at UCD Lyons Farm in the AgTech UCD building. And this is all focused on developing a commercial outcome. So it's full-time immersion in the discover phase. We then move to a develop phase where we ideate solutions, and then we move to a deliver phase where we plan how to go from this step into the next step of a commercial entity that is independently funded or is leading towards a licensable opportunity. As part of this, we offer a graduate diploma, so the participants who successfully complete what is necessary and can demonstrate their competence will be awarded a graduate diploma. To dig a little deeper into the methodology, we've defined it as a 3-stage process: discover, develop, and deliver. So during the discovery phase, which normally runs in the autumn trimester from September to December, we're looking to identify unmet needs and problems, people who have those problems and what the consequence of fixing them would be. In the spring trimester from January to May, we're looking to develop solutions. So we're looking to ideate how we might be able to solve the problem, And we're trying to be as broad-minded as we can at the beginning and validate to get to the best possible solution. So our problem solution fit is as good as it can be. And then in the summer, from May till August, the teams work on a roadmap to bringing their problem solution fit to the market and how they will fund that, what team members they need. And there will be a lot of detail about the immediate next step and much less detail about future steps. So the process is actually, it sounds like quite a long time, 1 year, but being packed into 3 trimesters, the process is actually very intensive. We start with boot camps in each trimester to go through the tools that we have available to us and how to use them. We have an immersion into the industry because not everybody participating in the program necessarily comes from agri-food background. And then we focus on using the tools that are available and the process we've put in place, and cycling through that as often as we can to refine what we think problems are and what we think the market for the solution to those problems will be. And then we go through the same refinement process in the develop phase and again in the deliver phase. One of the key things about immersive needs innovation is that you need to actually be involved with the environment and the people that you're working with. So we can define immersion as 3 components, which I've already alluded to, but I'll talk a little bit more about. The first is place. We go and observe things and try and understand what is happening. That could be as simple as sitting in the corner of a room and watching what people do. It could be going into a processing plant and walking the line and understanding what each step does. It could be standing at the side of the road watching logistics in action, whatever it may be. The second part, and perhaps the most important part of immersion, is people. It's listening to and synthesizing what we've understood from what people have told us. So it's really important to figure out where different stakeholders sit in a system, what their interests are, and their different perspectives on how the system works and where the problems are. And we're not trying to solve problems for the system, we're trying to solve problems for people, because it's people who buy solutions. In other words, drive commercial outcomes. So our real focus here is people. But we also then have to have some desk research in order to be able to put what we've seen in place and heard from people into a bigger context. And maybe one of the biggest difficulties people coming into a program like this have is be understanding that the research part is actually the minor part of immersion. You don't have to be researching like you would academic things. You just have to research enough to understand. And it's really the people and the place that are much more important. The program runs for 12 months, and we're ideally having people doing their final submissions after about 11 months. So we allow a little bit of leeway there for things to take different amounts of time. It's full time, so it's not turning up to a few lectures and doing a bit of work at home. It is on site full time for that 12 months. It's to be treated like a job. It's split into 3 stages, so there are some brief respites at the end of each trimester where people can have a rest from the really intensive work that they're doing. We do expect participation for 40 hours a week. And as I say, there is a graduate diploma, which is a 60 European credit transfer qualification split into the 3 semesters. There are assignments associated with that graduate diploma, but all of those are aligned to the commercial outcomes. So there is no assignment just for the sake of it. So it's really important to reiterate this. The graduate diploma and Fast IP are not the same thing. Participants in Fast IP will get a graduate diploma if they complete it successfully, but completing the graduate diploma is only a fraction of the work for Fast IP. The other thing is that we have a rigorously commercial outlook here. So we are always focusing on the commercial outcome, not the training of the individual. The training is a a desirable and necessary outcome, but ultimately it is the commercial outcome that we're focused on. So now I'll talk a little bit about the recruitment, a little bit about the process and who we're looking for. So we're targeting mid-career professionals, people who have some practical experience in the workplace, the more the better, but who have a desire to be entrepreneurial and innovate and create their own commercial outcome rather than simply working for somebody else. And we offer an excellent tax-free scholarship. In 2024, that was €38,000. And we also paid €9,000 towards the fees, which would completely pay the fees for a European student. For non-EU students, there would be an additional payment of €21,000 to meet the cost of a non-EU fee in University College Dublin. We also provide some funds towards travel to allow exploration of international markets. In 2024, we had about 200 people express interest in the programme, and 65 of those were longlisted for consideration to advance to the selection process. 35 of those ended up being invited to selection days, and of those we made 19 offers, of which 15 were accepted. And by the time we got to the end of the first semester, we had 14 people in the programme, and that's what we have at the moment. To be considered eligible, you need to have work experience. Nobody can get in without some practical work experience. If you have a bachelor's or higher degree, then that's a minimum of 3 years. And if you don't have a degree, you can still be considered eligible, but you would need slightly more work experience, at least 5 years. And those are not targets, they're minimum. So if you're competing against other people for a minimum, for the number of spaces there are in the programme, then if you're just at the threshold of minimum eligibility, it's relatively unlikely you would get in a given year, unless you had some really, really appealing traits to warrant being offered a place. So we don't offer the place just based on experience, that's one aspect. But these are the minimum requirements to get in and to be considered eligible. When we've reviewed CVs, the people who seem to have some spark, something interesting, they've got some entrepreneurial spirit, they've got some very strong evidence of past experience, or they've demonstrated a desire to participate, then we will invite them to a selection day. At the selection day, 5 external assessors and ourselves will observe them doing certain activities, and we set up a set of activities that mimic the programme, so observation of needs, identifying real problems, brainstorming solutions and pitching. And then all the candidates will have interviews with each of the external assessors, and they will focus on trying to understand key attributes, and at the end of that we simply select the people who we think are best. So now I'm going to talk to you a little bit about the experience of actually being on Fast IP. So previously mentioned, the programme runs at AgTech UCD, which is at Lyons Research Farm between Selbridge, County Kildare, and Newcastle, County Dublin. We have a dedicated space in the building, and these are the participants near the beginning of the programme in September 2024. What we do at the very beginning is get everybody to know each other. This is a speed dating session we did. So we just get people to reveal things about themselves so they can start to see who has what kind of skill and what kind of character and other traits. And then we take them through the needs discovery process, the immersive needs process. We also take participants out into the field so that they can learn about aspects of the agri-food system that they maybe don't know about. This is at Lyons Farm. The person with the back to the picture here is my colleague of mine, Sharon O'Rourke, who specialises in soil carbon and innovative approaches to maximising sequestration of carbon in soil. and she's talking to the participants around various aspects of that. So at this point, they're not looking for problems, they're just trying to understand the system. We work closely with our delivery partners Teagasc, who are integral to the success of FastIP. We allow the participants to go into the research centres, onto their research farms, and also other places such as the signpost farms that are related, in order to begin their place-based immersion and create connections in order to be able to do their people-based immersion. The final part of immersion that we regulate at the beginning of the programme is with industry. So here you can see the participants at dawn meets, and because they're all smiling, I assume that this is before they walked the process line at the facility, and we can see them there at kiln and milling. And what we're trying to do at the beginning of the programme is to give participants a kind of controlled experience of immersion, so that when they're working independently on their own activities, they know how to behave, they know how to be safe, they know the kind of expectations people will have when they're on site, and also expectations people will have when talking to them. We provide access to many interesting people in the agri-food system, particularly founders of startups, who can tell the participants about their experience with startups and with funding and dealing with customers and so on. So this is Piers Dargan of Equine Medi Record, who came to talk about his experience of taking a company from a very clear idea to scale and working globally at this point in an impressively short amount of time. And to be able to learn from people who've done this is a really, really important part of FastIP. Obviously, it's not possible to meet everybody in person, so we provide excellent facilities for online conversations. Every team has access to a D10 so that they can work collectively or individually interviewing people. Everybody has access to the necessary digital infrastructure to be able to conduct online interviews, and we have a number of rooms with facilities to make this work as efficiently as possible. The experience that people have is bound by milestones, so we try to make it possible for everybody to know where they need to be and by when, in order to successfully progress through FastIP. So the example here is the milestone 1 of the teams presenting their needs statements to external stakeholders and getting some feedback on what they've done. And what we mean by the needs statement, that's just a way of encapsulating the problem, who has the problem, and why they would choose to pay for the solution. So that's the first part of the problem solution mix that we're aiming to achieve by the second milestone. If you're interested in all this, you can apply online. It's a relatively straightforward process. We've made a link available to a Google form which you can use to express interest in participating in the programme. On the form, you have to tell us a little bit about why you're interested in the programme, why you think you have the necessary entrepreneurial spirit, provide some illustration or example of things that you've done to date that would support your application, and upload a CV. We review these, we make a long list of potential applicants, we shortlist that down and invite people to the selection days that I've talked about already. Hopefully we'll have the first of those in April, then May, and then June. We then offer places on the programme based on the best people, and it's first come, first serve effectively. So if you apply early and you're excellent, you have the most chance of getting in. If you apply later and you're excellent, you may have to wait a year to be considered. And then in July, UCD will make formal offers, and you have to formally apply to UCD again, which is just a technical step. And that is then when you can be enrolled in the programme, set up with the scholarship, and start in September. Just to look a little bit at the application. So we want simple information, your name and an email address so we can contact you. We're looking for this short statement that says why you want to participate, your evidence as to why you believe you're a good fit, what your entrepreneurial spirit is, or your activity or ambition. We're not looking for great long essays or anything here. We're looking for you to make it clear to us that this is something that you really want to do and you've got some understanding of what's involved. And then we want a CV, and I would strongly recommend that you modify your CV to align to the requirements of FAST-IP. So just in the impression that you give when you submit an expression of interest, it's a much better impression if it's tailored to the FAST-IP programme rather than just being given the impression you've thrown in a CV you have handy to see whether it sticks, kind of thing. So the people who are prioritised for the selection days are the ones that clearly have thought about what we're doing and tried to align themselves to that and show that they're a good fit for what we want. So that concludes the information that I want to present now. I'll just note that this FAST-IP programme is funded by Enterprise Ireland, or through Enterprise Ireland, and the Innovators Initiative Programme, and that is in turn co-funded by both the Government of Ireland and the European Union through the Southern Eastern and Midland Regional Programme. We would welcome applications from far and wide. We have no particular restriction in terms of background or what you might have done in the past. If this feels like something that would be good for you and you would like to participate, express your interest and we will take it from there.